Welcome to the Matt Largent Concert.
Because if you're going to screw it up with style. You've got to serve and serve first, and then you have to make that conscious decision to lead.
Oh, if you have any problems, dial information. Thank you for calling.
Well, hey, welcome back, everyone. Man, we've just been really having a great time talking about the impact of servant leadership on you as a leader. And we've been talking about the leadership and why people choose to be a leader, why people don't choose to be a leader. It's been an interesting season. You know, we talk a lot and I rant a lot about, impacts and legacy and the things that we do and the things that we should do and the things that we shouldn't do and the mistakes that we make and the fact that we're just humans. And it's nice to have an entire season where we're just talking about just realistically the impact and difficulties of being a leader and choosing to be a leader. And man, that it is a hard thing to do, and it is a few and far between call that people have to be a true leader and to do some impactful things. And so, like we talked about last episode, today we wanted to talk about trust and empowering our team. Building stronger organizations, but again, we want to focus on this as how it impacts you as a leader. And so we want to talk about building trust, and you can go back any one of the previous seasons and see where I've talked about building trust and fostering creativity and creating a culture that encourages failures, that encourages challenges and risk taking. But how does that impact us? Because man, that can be really scary for a leader. Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink of this old energy beverage and try to get my tongue twisters done right. So that's what we're going to talk about: trusting and empowering your team and how it's going to impact you. But I do want to just take a minute. It was so interesting. So I don't, as you guys, if you've been paying attention to the show at all, I don't edit. I don't go back and do things. I don't do crazy stuff. I've finally, in the last couple seasons, I've started getting a little more in scripting and trying to make sure I do a lot of research. And usually I've just got a page of data in front of me. And I'm using experiences and thoughts and feelings. And so I've started trying to put those more into a script. And so, but we hit a milestone on the show, 250 streams of the show in just one day. Like I had a pop up. I usually don't get on the apps and stuff and see how it's going because I'm just enjoying myself and learning and growing with you. And so I want to thank you all for your continued support, for being a part of this journey with me. Those of you who joined me this year, previous years, I was using a little bit of an outdated computer system and everything. And so, especially if you're on the YouTube channel with me, you'll see, a little update to my studios. I've got a new computer in it. It's kind of like when I was in the Marines, I did, half my time with the Marines, half my time with the Army. And when I was in the Marines, we were like third generation equipment, and it was all beat up. And so when I went over into the Army, they were giving me like brand new stuff in wrappers. I didn't know what to do with it. It was kind of weird. So I kind of felt that way. I felt like I had just switched over and gotten some brand new stuff. And I loved. I still consider myself a Marine and Marine first, obviously. But it was nice to get some equipment for once in my life. So let's dive into today. And I want to start with trust. Empowering your team through trust is one of those core principles of servant leadership. And while it obviously is very beneficial for the team, it really does have a huge impact on leaders' mental and emotional well-being. And I think it comes down to Somebody once told me in leadership, and this was maybe when I was 10 years in leadership, 12 years in leadership. And they said you can either buy loyalty or you can buy results, but very rarely can you buy both. Um, and that's such a pessimistic way of looking at it. And think of it like this: you pay enough money, you bring in people who can do the job very, very well, or you focus on the culture and developing people, and you're paying less, and you know they're with you, but they're so loyal to you. It's almost like Um, freedom fighters, they're doing it for the love of and loyalty of each other. Um, I say this because I've been in places where um, people would bet on me leaving. People would bet on, wow, you're really good at what you do, and so it's 2 year mark. They when I when I went to my current role almost 20 years ago, there were bets that I would be gone within 2 years because I was very good at what I did. And that was what happened, was that people who have high skills, they were, oh, this is the next opportunity and the next, and they're kind of moving around. Not to say that they aren't loyal. It's just, you want to be paid in and be given the respect of what you can do. And so it becomes very difficult. But I'm still here, and it's because of trust. It was because of that trust. When you build that team trust, and that team trusts you and you trust them, you don't have to micromanage. It releases you. It doesn't create just a better team. It relieves you of that stress and mental exhaustion of constantly having to oversee everything that's going on. When you're looking at everything that they're doing, and when you're having to, hey, we need to get this done. Hey, we need to do that. Oh, if you're one of those leaders that goes, if you're showing them how to do something and then you just do it for them because you want to make sure it gets done right, you're not empowering them. Empowering your team empowers you as a leader. It really creates that environment where you're no longer so stressed out, so mentally frustrated, so mentally exhausted, that you can do more with it. A study by Gallup found that leaders who trust their teams more and utilize that trust more experience 29% higher job satisfaction and 40% lower stress levels. Now, that's leaders. Think of it, if you had a 30% increase in how happy you were at your job, 40% less stress level, because that comes home with you. Leaders, it comes with us wherever we go, wherever we're going. Heard that phrase, you leave work at work and you take you can home at home and work at work, and you can't separate those, especially if you're a good leader. um, we've got to have an opportunity that we can go to work and come home, and we're not taking work home with us. We're not taking that stress. If you're getting into work, or pulling into the parking lot, and you are putting on this armor mentally, and it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. We're armoring and we're battling, we're preparing to go in and wage that war, of trying to get results, of micromanaging our people, or trying to do the day to day. It's no longer, hey, I'm just grateful that you showed up. We've got to get something done while we're here. And it becomes very frustrating. You get to shift from being a taskmaster to being visionary. You get to shift that focus from micromanaging to being able to look at it and say, what can we do? Where can we go with this? Trust is that release valve. It's the leader's release valve. It frees your mind to focus on what truly matters, because you're relieved from that constant oversight. You're developing deeper connections with your team, and with your trust is building, and spiritually you can feel that fulfillment of seeing others succeed, knowing that you helped foster that growth, knowing that you're creating that important impact for them. It really becomes that great relief valve, that blows away the competition, and makes things really and powerful. And so trust is important. You've got to be able to empower your team and you've got to be able to give them that opportunity. And again, how do I empower my team? At last season, we had a really great conversation about empowering team. It was an hour-long show. Jump back in there, find out, look at that. I want to keep moving though, because we're talking about how this is going to impact you as leaders. I want to talk about also giving that free thinking, because if we're empowering our team, they have to be able to have that freedom to share ideas. They got to be able to innovate. They've got to come up with fresh solutions. I actually had somebody say something to me. So I got a chance to go and visit, my son and his wife, and they just had a baby. And I was meeting her father for the first time, and he was a former Marine as well. And so he and I were talking about the old Marine Corps and all the things that we kind of went through. And it was, that you don't come with a problem unless you come with a solution. Like if you ain't coming with a solution, don't bring me the problem. Like that was the idea. Like if if you're going to come to me and complain, you better come to me with a solution or some way of fixing it. Don't just come to me with that problem. Well, we want people to be able to come to us with a problem, yes, but we also want to encourage free thinking and give them freedom to share ideas and innovate. If they're just griping to you, then you need to look at, are you giving them freedom to share ideas and innovate? Because they may have a fresh solution, but they don't want to share it with you because there's just going to get shot down. I can tell you personally, I've done it, and I have had it done to me, and it's been done all the way through my career, from recently to when I first started. When you come up with an idea and you're excited about it and you want to have that exciting opportunity, and you've got this, hey, let's spitball ideas, and I've got an innovation, I've got fresh solutions, and you're throwing out ideas, and it's just immediately shut down. And it's well, I think that's too, well, I don't think that that's true. Oh, I know that that's not the way it's gonna. But we do it too. Don't just sit there and go, well, my the people I talk to, they don't listen to me. They don't give me ideas, or when I try to get ideas from them, they won't give them to me. Are you shutting them down? Are you shutting them down? Are you saying, well, we've tried that before? Well, we've done, well, we've got to get this. Well, this is the right answer. Or are you being an enabler and engaging in them and giving them free thinking? Brainstorming sessions always used to crack me up, because there are two ways that people do brainstorming sessions. One, they'll just throw out and just start letting ideas flow. And they're writing down some of the most insane ideas in the world. Those are people that are encouraging free thinking, and sometimes we have a fear of free thinking, because we're like, well, they're going to throw out something that I can't give them or that I can't do for them. We talk about, how can we get more impact? How are we going to get more results from you guys as a team? Leaders are afraid to ask that. Leaders are afraid to go into a coaching session and saying, is this a career for you? And if not, why not? And what can I do to make this a career? Because they're afraid that they're going to say something that they can't give. Oh, I need bigger paycheck, and I need more benefits, and I need this. And leaders are afraid to hear that, because they're afraid that they can't give it to them. But are we doing it any better by not giving them an opportunity to put that out there and to talk it out? You know, to talk about ways that they can. Hey, look, I hear you. You need to make more money, because that's going to get you more satisfaction. It's going to help you and your family. Let's talk about how we can get you there by achieving these standards, and by doing this for 6 months, 12 months, whatever. Then you're going to have this opportunity, and it's going to create. There are other. It's not just about just giving out a raise. It's about having that conversation with them. You've got to give them that opportunity to free think, though. You've got to give them that opportunity to come up with fresh solutions, and to not feel like they're going to be shut down for them, because it's going to make you more adaptable and more resilient. There's the real win for you, is that you're becoming more adaptable, because you're listening to these crazy ideas, these wild and different things. And maybe they're ideas that you've heard before, that you've thought before, that you never got a chance to take advantage of, or that, they got poo-pooed or whatever, or you tried them and they didn't work. Well, they didn't work for you, but what could it do with that team, with that person? You just don't know. And so it creates this insane twist in your mind where you start thinking more adaptability. You're not so just structured and so focused on it has to be done my way. You become more adaptable, you become more resilient. Forbes highlighted that companies with cultures of innovation are 5 times more likely to thrive in changing markets. Now, let me ask you this: if you've been in leadership or if you have been in a job for more than a year, when is it not a changing market, especially over the last couple of years? It has been an insane market. Markets have gone up, down, all around. I've seen small businesses that have just crashed and burned to ones that have grown into, you know, literally 100 times more than where they were. It's become huge. Markets change constantly, and they are just going to continue to change constantly because we become more global. You look at the economy of the US, or the world, really, a lot of that has to do with the Japanese market and the things that happened in Japan and the European market, and those all came together to impact the US market and to US stocks, and that just happened recently. A year or two ago, it was people who were just like, well, I love GameStop, so I'm gonna buy a bunch of stock in games, and they took downs. It was a changing market, and you as a leader, you've got to be adaptable, you've got to be resilient, you got to be changing. But what's hard for us as leaders is that we're constantly trying to think. We've got to be uh, we've got to come up with these solutions, we've got to come up with all these answers, we've got to stay ahead. There's industry changes, there's market changes. How do we have to stay ahead? You have the solution. Your team, you have a group of people, you have 8 minds or 10 minds or 20 minds or 100 minds or 200 minds, whatever it is, that can give you ideas, that can innovate, that can look for fresh solutions, that can throw things at you that are crazy, but it just might work. You have less pressure to come up with all the answers yourself. There's your win. As a leader, you no longer have to come up with all the answers, but you're encouraging that and you're fostering that free thinking in your team. And all of a sudden, you no longer have to come up with all the answers. You can start utilizing that incredible amount of people. And so mentally, you're no longer burdened by the one. I have to solve all the problems. I'm the only one that can do it. Oh, it's just me. And emotionally, that's just sucking the life out of you. But imagine the energy, the creative energy of your team that's coming at you with all these things. And yes, it's scary because some of those ideas are nuts. But emotionally, you can either be drained by having to be the one that has all the answers, the one that everybody's relying on you to succeed. I mean, when you even when you talk about the military's grown past that. And if you're in a business and you're still stuck in that, oh well, I've got to have the one to come up all the decision. The military, yes, there is one person in command, but they have an entire staff. When they're sitting down and coming up with strategies and how to do things, it's not just the one person going, here's the strategy, here's what we're doing. They have an exo, they have several leaders, platoon leaders or battalion leaders that are saying, here's what I want to do with my battlefield, and here's some ideas. Well, what if we did? So, what if we did? I mean, down to the operators that are hitting the field, we would have to come in and go, okay, whoa, time out. Radios don't work worth crap in this area because it's in the mountains, and so let's just do this. Let's get the headsets with the phones, and we can use, because those work better, and we can just use the walkie-talkie function on the phone. And so then all of a sudden it changes the battle plan. Hey, look, you guys may not know this, but this creek, this small flowing body of water has dried up because up in the hills somebody did this. And so what I want to do is I want to go across this. We can use it to go up and then plant some, something to break the dam. And then when we're getting out, we can blast it and they can't chase. I mean, and that goes back up and it comes back down. You don't have to have all the answers. You need to listen to those people who especially are on the front lines and the ones that are going to be impacted by those decisions. But ultimately the decision's yours, but you don't have to come up with all the answers. It is so emotionally relaxing, and mentally you're no longer having mentally and emotionally, it takes a lot of that pressure off. It creates more adaptability for you as the leader. It creates more resilience. Free thinking and team frees the leader's mind from isolation. Collaboration isn't just strategy, it's a path to personal resilience. And so when I say freeze the leader's mind from isolation, I actually used to really, really, and I've probably said it on my show multiple times, that being a leader is very lonely. It's very lonely because I'm not encouraging free thinking as much as I should. And I've learned to do that more probably in the last year than I ever have before, and it is insanely exhilarating. I'm going to tell you from personal experience that it is immense fulfillment, that new ideas are flourishing, that I'm not the only one trying to solve problems, but that I'm listening to people who are who are dealing with the problem on a day to day, even the ones that aren't dealing with it on a day to day, that maybe I'm doing, that they're involved in, that I ask their opinions on and their ideas. It's amazing. But in order to create that free thinking, you really have to create a safe space for risk taking. You've got to give them the freedom to fail, because the freedom to fail creates for you the freedom to lead. If you give a safe environment for taking risk and accepting failure for your teams, it gives them more willingness to experiment, to innovate, to give you those ideas. For you as a leader, though, it goes deeper. It releases you from the fear of failure. When you allow your team to fail, it releases you from the fear of failure. One of my favorite things that my pastor says is that we're not perfect, and you have no right to expect us to be, because we're just human beings. And yet, as managers, as leaders, as developers, we expect ourselves to be perfect. We accept the risk and the failures, and we blame ourselves for them instead of just accepting them. We have such a fear of failure that it creates that real timidness of change. Opening the opportunity and creating a safe environment for your team to take risks, and for you to show them that you accept failures, gives you a stepping stone to building confidence in their abilities and in yours. You encourage this to become more comfortable with your own risks and your own failures. They've even done, I mean, MIT Sloan did a study that said leaders who create a psychologically safe environment, psychologically, because remember, failure risks. I mean, I was very fortunate. Risks in the military are inherent. And so failure from risk could lead to some really scary consequences, but it was inherent. And so you just tried to minimize and do the best you could with it by planning in advance. Well, we should do the same. We should know that every decision that we make is going to have risk, and every decision that our team makes is going to have risk. But if we create an environment where they feel like it is safe mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for them to take risks and to fail, they are 32% more likely to feel satisfied in their leadership role, because you aren't tied to perfection then. We have to embrace the idea that leadership isn't always about being right. It's about fostering growth, and growth comes from failure. In creating that space for failure, you grant yourself the freedom to lead without fear. So that fear of making mistakes, that fear diminishes. It allows you to lead with more courage. You get a deep sense of security. You have that peace and fulfillment, and knowing that challenges are going to come, and you may get through some and you may not get through any, but challenges are going to come. But you can You can face them head on. And by doing these, by creating that safe space for risk, by going through and getting people to feel empowered, to have trust in us. We trust in them. They trust in us. That's that leader's release valve, freeing your mind to focus on what matters by fostering that free thinking so that we can release our mind from isolation. So that we're not feeling like we're the only ones, like we are alone in it. It is collaboration. It's that personal resilience that we're building. And by creating that safe space for risk taking and creating the freedom to fail, we are creating an emotional engagement that's aligning our team's purpose with our own. It is one of our most important tasks as a leader is to align our team's personal goal, our people's personal goals with our organization's mission. When our team becomes emotionally engaged to the organization's vision, you become more engaged and connected to the vision of that organization. It doesn't matter if it was your vision. When your people are bought into it, you become bought into it even more than you were before. You become so much more engaged with it. The emotional engagement of your team reflects back to you. It'll rekindle your own mission, your own passion for the mission, your own passion for what you do. It's a reciprocal relationship. You ever been in one of my favorite things is when I'm going into a speaking engagement, and man, it is dead fish. I am not connecting with them. They're not connecting with me. They're not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. We're all over the place. That is horrible. It is so hard. It is the responsibility of the speaker to find a way to connect with that audience, with those people, and engage with them. And that's why you see a lot of them do different interactive things, why they're telling jokes. They all have a shtick, right? different little pieces or things that they're doing to try and engage with the audience, because it's reciprocal. If I feel your energy, then you feel my energy. That's the coolest thing, is that after 30 years now of doing it, and 20 plus years of being a public speaker, I can just scream into a microphone and I feel like I'm getting into it, not because I feel your energy, because it's flipping back off of my own. You have got to create that energy, and it really connects with you. It re-engages you. It makes you feel connected to the higher purpose, uh, because you know that you're not leading just for the results, but for meaning and impact. If you're just leading for results, again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. Some people hire just for loyalty, and some people hire for results. But it's that rare and amazing leader that is able to do both. So, as servant leaders, it's easy to focus on how we benefit others. But just like we've been talking about all season and we focused on today, empowering teams through trust, creativity, resilience doesn't just build stronger teams, it transforms us as leaders. It elevates us mentally and emotionally, it elevates us spiritually, giving us the strength to lead with passion, with purpose. It's an incredible opportunity. And so the emotional engagement of your team reflects back on you, rekindling your own passion for that mission. The things that servant leadership does for you is beyond comparison. Once again, thank you so much for helping me reach an incredible milestone, 250 streams in one day. We're growing together. We continue to have new guests. We continue to have new listeners. Next week, we're probably going to dive into how to create cultures of accountability without fear. So, and how that impacts us as leaders, because the number one reason why we fear accountability is because we fear the impact that it's going to have on our team. And so, how do we create that culture of accountability without the fear? Don't miss that. If you found today's episode impactful, subscribe, share, comment on how servant leadership is transforming your leadership journey. Thanks for joining me on the Matt Largent Concert. We're not just talking about leadership, we're living it.
And like that,